Welcome to Swift Narratives, where each tale invites you on a journey through realms, both chillingly scary, deeply immersive, wonderfully weird, and enchantingly fantastical. Join us as we explore the endless possibilities of storytelling, where even the most eerie tales can help you drift into a peaceful slumber. In the embrace of sprawling hills, veiled by the mists of dawn and dusk, lies Stony Creek, a village with its roots as deep and dark as the mines that gave it life. This remote settlement, accessible only by a winding road that snakes through the dense forests of the northern ridge, is home to a community whose fortunes are inextricably linked to the earth they excavate. For generations, the rhythm of life in Stony Creek has been dictated by the rise and fall of the mining industry, with families bound to the land and each other through shared hardship and fleeting prosperity. Yet, beneath the surface of this solidarity, secrets simmer and resentments fester. Over the course of 4 years, Stony Creek finds itself ensnared in a web of tragedy and mystery, as 6 of its own are claimed by death under circumstances most foul. Each victim, connected to the mines that pulse at the village's heart, meets their end in a manner that leaves more questions than answers, casting long shadows over the community's once unbreakable bond. The first to fall was Jonathan Hargreaves, the mine's foreman, a man whose stern demeanor belied a deep-seated loyalty to his workers and the village. Jonathan was as much a part of the mines as the coal and ore he helped extract. His leadership was marked by a gruff exterior that masked a deep care for his crew and the safety of every soul under his watch. His death struck a harsh blow to the village, not only because of his pivotal role in the mines, but because it marked the beginning of the end of an era. The investigation into his death was brief, the conclusion drawn quickly. A tragic accident, an unfortunate misstep in the labyrinthine tunnels deep underground. Yet, whispers of doubts lingered, fed by the oddities surrounding his death, his meticulous nature at odds with the carelessness attributed to his final moments. But as the months passed and more followed in his footsteps, the pattern of loss drew the attention of those beyond Stony Creek's secluded borders. Emily Barton, a geologist with dreams of uncovering new veins of ore to secure the village's future, was the next to be taken. Emily's ambition brought a spark of hope to Stony Creek. Her expertise and enthusiasm for uncovering new possibilities promised a resurgence for the mines and, with it, the village. Her disappearance and the subsequent discovery of her abandoned vehicle on the outskirts of the forest sent ripples of fear through the community. The village reeled from each loss, the threads of trust and camaraderie unraveling with the passing of Alistair Whitby, the local doctor. Dr. Whitby's commitment to Stony Creek was unwavering. His small clinic was a beacon of hope, offering solace and healing to the miners and their families. His death from an apparent overdose of medication was a shock to all who knew him. The man who had dedicated his life to saving others, now a victim of his own hand. It was a conclusion that sat uneasily with many, especially given the doctor's recent concerns over the health impacts of the mining operations on the community. Sophia Lung, the teacher. Sophia's influence reached beyond the confines of her classroom, nurturing the minds and spirits of Stony Creek's youngest residents. Her dedication to education and her students' futures made her a beloved figure. Her death, in a fire that consumed her home, was a tragedy that left the village reeling. The investigation pointed to an accident, yet the circumstances, a fire starting in the dead of night, with no apparent cause, left a shadow of doubt. Michael Ford, the outsider. Michael's arrival in Stony Creek was met with skepticism. An outsider with a troubled past, seeking a fresh start in the mines, he slowly began to carve out a place for himself within the community. His death, found at the edge of the mining pits, appeared to be a fall, yet his recent integration into village life and the absence of witnesses raised questions about the true nature of his demise. Clara Simmons, the heir. Clara represented the future of Stony Creek, the bridge between its storied past and the promise of renewal. Her vision for the mines, balancing economic viability with environmental and social responsibility, inspired many. Her sudden illness and rapid decline were a mystery, one that seemed inconsistent with her previously robust health. In her death, the village lost not just a beloved member, but the hope of a new beginning. Each death, marked by its own peculiarities and questions, wove a tapestry of grief and suspicion across Stony Creek. The patterns that emerged, a connection to the mines, the unexplained nature of their passing, and the growing fear within the community, formed the backdrop against which Detective Alex Mercer would begin their investigation. Mercer's arrival signaled a turning point, the start of a journey into the heart of the village's darkness, where the truth lay buried, waiting to be unearthed. Detective Alex Mercer's arrival in Stony Creek was met with a mix of relief and apprehension. The weight of the unresolved deaths hung heavily over the village, each loss intertwined with the lifeblood of the community, the mine. Mercer, with a reputation for delving into the depths of complex cases, was seen as a beacon of hope to some and a harbinger of unwanted truths to others. Mercer's first challenge was penetrating the close-knit fabric of the village. Stony Creek's isolation, both geographical and emotional, had fostered a culture of silence and suspicion. The detective's outsider status was a barrier to gaining the trust of the residents, who were protective of their own and wary of exposing their community's secrets to external scrutiny. Mercer's approach combined patience with a keen observational skill, slowly building rapport with key figures in the village while meticulously examining the evidence surrounding each death. The lack of cooperation from the mining company added another layer of complexity. The company's influence permeated the village, its operations shrouded in secrecy and guarded by a veil of corporate interest. Gaining access to records and personnel proved to be a painstaking process, requiring Mercer to navigate a maze of bureaucracy and legal obstacles. The investigation stirred a range of emotions within Stony Creek. Some residents saw Mercer's presence as an opportunity for closure and justice, eagerly sharing their suspicions and theories about the deaths. Others viewed the detective with hostility, fearing the exposure of secrets that could tear the already frayed community apart. Rumors and accusations began to circulate, igniting old grievances and casting shadows of doubt on long-standing relationships. Mercer's presence also brought an unintended consequence, a spotlight on the village that attracted media attention. The intrusion of reporters and curiosity seekers disrupted the daily life of Stony Creek, adding pressure on Mercer to solve the case swiftly while managing the growing scrutiny from outside the village. Mercer's investigation methodically retraced the steps leading up to each death, uncovering a complex web of relationships, financial struggles, and hidden agendas. The detective's expertise in forensic analysis brought new insights into the evidence, challenging the initial conclusions drawn by the local authorities. Patterns began to emerge, hinting at connections between the victims that went beyond their roles in the mining community. The breakthrough came when Mercer discovered a series of anonymous letters sent to each of the victims before their deaths. The letters, veiled in threats and warnings, suggested that the motive behind the murders was deeply rooted in the village's history and the mine's operations. This revelation shifted the focus of the investigation towards uncovering the sender of the letters and their connection to both the victims and the mining company. As Mercer delved deeper into the investigation, the detective faced increasing resistance from unseen forces determined to keep the truth buried. Break-ins at Mercer's temporary office, surveillance, and thinly veiled threats were a constant reminder of the dangers involved in exposing the secrets of Stony Creek. Yet, these obstacles only strengthened Mercer's resolve to bring the perpetrator to justice, understanding that the key to solving the mystery lay in unraveling the tangled history of the village and its mine. The investigation's progress was slow and methodical, with each piece of evidence meticulously analyzed and each lead pursued with determination. Mercer's presence became a fixture in the village, the detective's dogged pursuit of the truth, a beacon of hope for some and a source of fear for others. As the layers of the mystery were peeled away, the true scope of the tragedy that had befallen Stony Creek began to emerge, pointing towards a conclusion more complex and heartbreaking than anyone had anticipated. As Detective Alex Mercer delved deeper into the heart of Stony Creek's enigma, the investigation took a serendipitous turn during a visit to the home of Clara Simmons, the latest victim. Amidst her personal belongings, Mercer found an old, dust-covered box tucked away in the attic, its contents untouched for months. Inside, alongside personal mementos and historical documents related to the mine, lay a stack of anonymous letters, each meticulously sealed and unopened. These letters, overlooked in the initial stages of the investigation, became the thread that, once pulled, began to unravel the tightly woven tapestry of secrets that cloaked the village. The discovery was unexpected. The letters, with their nondescript envelopes, could easily have been dismissed as irrelevant personal correspondence. However, Mercer's instinct, honed through years of sifting through the innocuous to find the hidden truths, prompted a closer examination. The first letter, carefully opened, revealed a message that was chilling in its precision and knowledge of the mine's inner workings. It spoke of retribution and justice for sins buried deep within the earth, sins known only to those who had toiled in the mine's shadow. This find led Mercer to revisit the homes and personal effects of the other victims, where similar letters were subsequently found, hidden away or ignored as the ramblings of a crank. Each letter was unique, tailored to its recipient, yet all shared a common thread, a warning of impending doom for their role in concealing the mine's dark secrets. The letters shifted the trajectory of Mercer's investigation, suggesting a motive that intertwined personal vendettas with the collective guilt over the mine's legacy. The specificity of the knowledge contained within the letters indicated that the sender was not only intimately familiar with the mine's operations, but also harbored a deep resentment towards those who had profited from its misdeeds. This revelation prompted Mercer to look beyond the surface, to question the official narratives surrounding the deaths, and to consider the mine, not just as a physical location, but as a character in its own right, at the center of the village's tragedy. The letters became a guide, leading Mercer through a maze of deceit and towards individuals whose outward respectability masked their complicity in the mine's darker history. The integration of the letters into the investigation added a new layer of complexity and urgency. Mercer recognized that the sender was likely watching, perhaps even taking satisfaction in the chaos their revelations caused. the detective's efforts to trace the origins of the letters, to decipher their cryptic warnings, and to confront those mentioned within their pages brought Mercer into direct conflict with the village's power structures. This careful, more natural introduction of the anonymous letters into the narrative not only solidifies their importance as a key piece of evidence, but also enhances the suspense and depth of the investigation. It underscores the detective's prowess and the intricate web of secrets that defines Stony Creek, setting the stage for a confrontation that promises to expose the raw truth beneath the village's serene facade. The introduction of the anonymous letters had irrevocably shifted the course of Detective Alex Mercer's investigation in Stony Creek. The messages, cryptic yet revealing, became the beacon that guided Mercer through the murk of deceit and towards the heart of the darkness that lay at the village's core. As the investigation wove through the labyrinth of the village's secrets, the pieces of the puzzle began to align, drawing Mercer ever closer to the identity of the perpetrator. The breakthrough came when Mercer traced the letters to a source unexpectedly close to the heart of the community. The meticulous examination of handwriting samples, cross-referenced with records accessed through painstaking negotiations with the mining company, led to an astonishing revelation. The letters, in their unique prose and knowledge of mining operations, matched the hand of none other than Benjamin Clark, the mine's quiet and unassuming accountant. Clark, a lifelong resident of Stony Creek, had been a fixture in the community, his presence as steady and unremarkable as the hills that cradled the village. To many, Clark was a benign entity, his life seemingly devoted to the numbers that dictated the mine's fortunes. Yet, beneath this veneer of ordinariness, Mercer uncovered a well of bitterness and vengeance, a legacy of loss that traced back to a forgotten disaster within the mine, one that had claimed the life of Clark's father decades prior. The investigation revealed that Clark had long harbored resentment towards the mining company and certain families in the village, whom he held responsible for the tragedy and subsequent cover-up. His role as accountant afforded him access to the company's darkest secrets, and the victims, in their various capacities, had each stumbled upon fragments of this hidden past. Clark's methodical elimination of those who threatened to unearth the truth was his twisted form of justice, a retribution for the loss and suffering endured by his family and, by extension, the community. Armed with this knowledge, Mercer confronted Clark, presenting the irrefutable evidence that linked him to the murders. The confrontation, tense and charged with the weight of years of sorrow and anger, took place in the very heart of the mine, the site of Clark's deepest pain. Faced with the enormity of his actions, Clark's facade crumbled, revealing the depth of his anguish and the misguided belief that his vengeance served a higher purpose. Clark's confession was a cathartic moment, not just for him, but for the village of Stony Creek. He spoke of the letters as his final attempt to make the village confront its past, to acknowledge the pain and sacrifice that had been buried in the pursuit of prosperity. His actions, though unforgivable, were a manifestation of the village's collective guilt and denial. The resolution of the case brought a somber closure to the village. Clark's arrest and subsequent trial laid bare the forgotten chapters of Stony Creek's history, forcing the community to reckon with its conscience. The mines, once the lifeblood of the village, became a symbol of its deepest wounds and the cost of silence. For Mercer, the conclusion of the investigation was bittersweet. The detective had unearthed the truth, but at the cost of exposing the village's rawest vulnerabilities. As Mercer prepared to leave Stony Creek, the detective reflected on the nature of justice and redemption, pondering whether the village could heal and forge a new identity from the ashes of its past. The legacy of the murders in Stony Creek would linger, a reminder of the shadows that dwell in the hearts of men and the price of burying the truth. Yet there was hope that, in confronting its darkest moments, the village could find a path to reconciliation and renewal, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unfathomable loss. Please subscribe, like, and tell us what you thought of our story. Until our next adventure unfolds,